Okay, so we're going to take notes on evaluating algebraic expressions. An algebraic expression is a mathematical phrase that can contain ordinary numbers, variables like a, x, y, and operators like add, subtract, multiply, divide, exponentiate. To evaluate an algebraic expression means to substitute a value for each variable and perform the arithmetic operations following the order of operations. So let's try two examples. So for this first example, and for the second, whenever we see a variable, we're going to replace it with parentheses. This is going to help us especially when we're dealing with negatives. Sometimes when people substitute in a negative value in for a variable, and it's already a subtraction, they forget the second negative sign. They forget to subtract the negative. Sometimes they just drop one of them. So we're going to use parentheses wherever a variable had appeared. So now we replace each variable with its value, the given value. So they said that x is 10 and y is 6. So we replace x with 10 and y with 6, and then follow the order of operations. So it kind of looks like we have three sets of parentheses, but the parentheses around the 10 and the 6 are just kind of leftovers from the notation we were using for x and y. They're not grouping anything. 10 is just a single item. So the parentheses we're dealing with are the larger parentheses, and in those we have 10 minus 6. So we'll do 10 minus 6 first, so obviously that's 4, and then we copy everything else, just as it appears. Now we're done with parentheses. Even though we have parentheses there, those are not grouping parentheses. Those indicate multiplication, so we'll deal with that when we get to the multiplication level of the order of operations. So we're done with parentheses, and now we look for exponents. Obviously we have exponents, so we're going to evaluate 5 squared, which is 25, and copy down everything else. Now we don't have any more exponents, so we move to the next level. We look for multiplication or division, and we would do whichever one comes first, left to right, but there's only one thing there. There's just multiplication, so we're going to multiply 2 times 4, and then just copy everything else. And then there's one last thing to do. 8 plus 25 gives us 33. Alright, let's try the second example. So in the same way, wherever there is a variable, we're going to replace it first with parentheses. So we just copy the original expression, but wherever a variable was, we put in parentheses. Now we replace every a value with 6, and every b value, or spot where there was a b, we're going to substitute in 3. Then we follow the order of operations. So we do have parentheses. In the first set of parentheses, we have 6 plus 3, so that simplifies to 9. And in the second set of parentheses, we have 6 minus 3, which simplifies to 3, and we copy down everything else. Now we look for, we do have parentheses, but those are not the parentheses we're talking about with P in the order of operations. The P in order of operations stands for a grouping symbol of parentheses. These parentheses actually indicate multiplication. So next would be the exponent. So we're going to square 3. That gives us 9. Then we copy everything else. And now we look for multiplication or division, whatever comes first, left to right. And the 9 times 3 comes before that divided by 9. So we'll multiply 9 times 3. And that gives us 27. We copy down the rest. And finally, 27 divided by 9 is 3. Great job.